Morning, morning, monsters. So it's my birthday today, and I thought I would try something a little bit different. You haven't tried to do a dream stream in the morning, but I was like, you know what? I really enjoyed our discussion about Neon the other day on one of our evening streams, and I was like, wow, that guy's really freaking out, isn't he? If you ever get that, just the way to solve it, by the way, is just to turn off the controllers, and then you can just pop them back on, and that'll resolve the issue. It's just sometimes the there we go. They're all right. Okay, yeah. So we were talking about Neon. So I'll go through the rules again of Neon. So typically when people are making Neon, and it's not just in Dreams, it's in Blender and other things, the mistake that people make, and we'll start with this bottom one here, this is sort of half altered on my part. The most common mistake, first rule of Neon, is you never have a closed loop like that in Neon, right? Neon has to be terminated in some way because it's a neon tube, right? So that's why there's the terminators there. The next rule of Neon is no sharp corners. You can never pull off an angle like that in Neon. While you could technically pull it off in glass blowing, it would look horrendous. And it's really dangerous, and it's really fragile, and a whole bunch of reasons you would never ever see this in Neon. There's some tricks that people do for this for Neon, where they put in blockers and things like that, and you can put some black plastic and stuff there, but generally speaking, glass tubes, you won't ever see the sharp corners. And then the last one, the one that really interests me about Neon, and we might have to bring up some reference for this because I just want to really dive into this, is the fact that Neon, and this is sort of key to understanding why Neon has such a unique look that is not ever captured in footage. Unfortunately, most people aren't physicists, so I'm not seeing an amazing thing there. So you know what, we'll just demonstrate it inside of Dreams. So a neon wave is very much like a signal generator. So a neon wave is basically oscillating wave inside of the thing, very much sort of like that. And it does there's basically two waves in alteration of each other that sort of stand, and if they're correctly configured, because the one's going left to right and the one's going right to left, well actually there's only one wave, but what happens, it goes down the tube, it hits the end of the tube, and then it bounces back. And if it's correctly configured, and we can show it here with this, if we just clone that, and then we just put in a calculator gadget, right? Do that, and to really sort of see the output of the wave, we're going to want a signal manipulator, because that's going to show us the wave. Okay, so you see at the moment these are sort of doubling on each other. Now if I configure this, so it's a sweep 1 second, right? So if I configure this to have an offset of sorry, my brain is just remembering, it's waking up. I need to offset that, but I can't do a fixed offset. So what I need to do, that'll be the easiest way to do that, is I'm just going to change that to a minus, and I'm just going to take the phase offset here, and I'm just going to make this minus -1. Oh, it's pi. Of course it's pi. I totally forgot it's pi. Because it works in radians. So this actually needs to be 3 point... is it actually going to be pi, or is it going to be... I think it's pi if I recall. Minus, and then we're going to have to... I believe that should resolve it. Oh no, because the signal generator is expecting a range in the... Oh, Claire, you should have prepared this earlier. That is going from 0. That is very strange. It jumps. The phase offset jumps. I am hooked into the phase offset, right? Oh, I remember there's a really confusing... Okay, I apologize. There's a really confusing little... Well, I wouldn't call it bug, but it probably is a bug. But it's... I remember there was an email thread about this. The phase offset includes not only the dip and the thing, but it also includes the delay. So this is actually not going to be the easiest thing to work out. What we could actually do that should just work is if we multiply it by oh, stupid me, I put double minus. If we multiply it by -1, that should, yeah, it's a little bit of weirdness, and then we're going to have to add it to we're going to have to add 3.14 to it. I believe it's 3.14. It might actually, let me just add 1 to it initially. I don't think 1 works. I think it's 3.14 if I recall, but we can see. Yeah, no, it's actually the full range, so it's not 3.14. It is going to be oh no, I added 1, sorry. Let me add 3.14. No, that's wrong. It's going, sorry, I'm just going to slow this way down, not that way down, so we can just see the progress here, because I just want to see when it hits 0, it'll yeah, the phase offset, it's because it includes the dwell time in the different states. So if you have a pause time range, that's the reason it is. It's not very clear, and it's actually a lot harder to do your math on. Oh, please don't tell me that it's just arbitrarily 4 because there's 4 states. Oh, it is, isn't it? You motherfuckers. I need to go beat someone over the head with that. Not 4. Hold on. Oh, that's not hooked up. No, it is hooked up. What the motherfucker? Just drop that down. What the... Okay, well, you know what? We're just going to walk away. We're going to walk away from that mess. And, okay, that's at 2 seconds. That's at 2 seconds. Well, actually, take it from me. The, yeah, like, I can't remember where we are with this. Take it from me, if we were able to do the phase offset, and I'm normally, if it was a full stream, I would just sit down here and I'd work through it, and I'll actually I'll just poke someone at work doing that. It is jank. It is jank. I know we've had an email thread about that, and I will actually poke about it. But my point is, because that's not the point here. The point is that if you have, and I'm just going to fucking use strokes to demonstrate this, in Neon, and this is the thing that gives Neon its sort of signature look. Brains, pencil tool, thank you. In Neon, there is a wave that gets sent out and is bouncing around inside the tube, right? And when it hits the end of the tube, it bounces back. And if you correctly configure the tube's frequency, because that's one of the things you can tune in the controller of a neon light bulb, what you will end up with is a perfect standing wave, which means that you get a tube that is perfectly, evenly lit, right? So if you actually have a tube of neon, right? So if you were making like a neon light, whatever, right? Oh, motherfucker, smear default. Every single fucking time. I am hitting all of the things this morning, aren't I? So if you're making a neon light bulb from scratch, right? Cylinder. There is, here's the actual thing, right? The standing wave, as it sort of deploys through the bits. Okay. Actually, we're going to start off with just making this entire bulb black, right? Now let's say that this was a white neon thing. First of all, you want to do some soft blend and you want to lower the opacity right down. Okay. The wave would head out here and then would bounce back. But now there's a thing that would happen in the middle, which is, and we're just going to give it some glow, because of the way the wave starts at the start and the wave ends at the end, you typically at the end of the neon light bulb will get these blacker bits, and that's why we painted it slightly like that. Late night bottle feeding, oh dear. So if you actually account for that, and so if you actually even look at a straight neon tube, you will get that effect to it. Now this is typically hidden in an industrial lighting scenario by putting caps on the end of the tube. The other thing is, if you see a full neon tube, they will actually be they'll actually have they will actually be I can paint it later. They'll actually be rounded at the they'll actually be rounded at the one end. Yeah, I know it's not perfect. They'll be rounded at the one end because it helps the light bounce. And again, glass doesn't ever have hard corners like that. Yes, you can make glass have hard corners, but it adds to the fragility and it adds to a whole bunch of things. So that's the first thing to bear in mind with the basic neon tube. But now if the neon tube has a bit of jank, right, in my head because of the whole jank bot thing, if the neon tube has a bit of jank, then what we can do, and remember you want to do this with the sculpture detail tool, not what I'm doing now. You can flow, brains, that's bubble, that is flow, there we go, right. And we found out a little bit evaporate. You want to keep this nice and slow typically because it tends to drift a little bit. If it was drifting too fast, then what you would actually get is do that, come out here. If it was drifting too fast, you would actually get a much dimmer bulb, which is one of the reasons why they configure the comb. One of the reasons why they actually configure the light bulbs to have a more perfect standing wave. And if you're dealing with, you want to just sort of confuse it a bit there because that's where it's bouncing. And if you're dealing with sort of rounded shapes, you can do that. So delete that. So what we've done here, so this is the other rule. Now that you know the rules of standing waves, the rules of neon, i.e. it'll always have end caps. It'll never have sharp corners like that. And when you do have turns and bounces in there, the standing wave is more likely to get out of sort. And this is the bit that actually really annoys me with artificial neon in Blender and in video games generally, and when people are doing it in Dreams, is because of how, if you just apply a emissive texture to a mesh, because of how that works, typically the corners and anywhere there's lots of neon gathers is some of the brightest areas. Whereas if this is a real bulb, that's actually the areas it dims. So, and it also is just more visually interesting when you do that kind of alteration to it. So here, like if we're editing this shape here, first of all, you would never be able to get a perfect cross of neon like that. So two ways I could potentially think of doing it is, or the way I would potentially do it. Now bear in mind that if the cross is like that, then okay, offset them a little bit there. If the cross is like that, we won't be able to get the hard X. But remember how I said some of the hacks around some of, first of all, let's go out here. Let's just turn off that hack there. Let's turn off the emissive glow of 36, because it'll just make our lives easier. I mean, to be honest, we probably just want to start this one up again from scratch, because this was just an asset I pulled off the Dreamiverse, and whoever did this asset, I am totally not knocking you, because the big thing I want to get across to people is brains. There we go, cool. The big thing I want to get across to people is this is actually like, and then if it's a background asset and if it's cheap, then you know you don't have to go to the levels of detail that I am going. And yes, I know I could have just edited the brush, but I'm just like, fuck it. Okay. So yeah, if it's a background asset, you know, make it to the level of quality that it needs to be for the background. But here's the trick: if I was doing a neon, like in real life, if I was doing a neon thing like this, what I would do is, oh, brains, edit brush, edit shape, thank you. Grip point to the middle, and does this not have? I thought the torus had a, fuck it, we can do it. I thought the torus had a horizontal option, but whatever. There we go, right. And we're definitely in, yeah, uniform. Bulge. Okay, we're gonna just delete that for a sec. And where is our cylinder? What I would do, and if you actually look at real neon, there is a lot of this going on, where there is a lot of sort of gentle deforms. You don't, oh, that's horrible. That is so skinny in the wrong places. Skinny in the wrong places is just not a phrase you ever want to hear, really, is it? Do not like. Do you know? Now, the other way you can hack this together, by the way, is the curve tool. I really actually prefer the curve tool for this kind of work on the DS4. So I am just going to smash this out quickly because we're running short on time and I want to just finish this example. Fuck over to the smear tool. I'm just doing this by hand. Because sod it, do it by hand. Where is my soft blend? Rely on the old soft blend to save my ass. Fuck it. Sometimes you gotta look at it and you gotta go, that is an atrocity. And I'm just gonna switch over to the DS4 and I'll just quickly do it with the curve tool. And that'll be that. Here we go. I know, right? All the fucking equipment in the world and you still have issues. Curve tool. There we go. I just really like the way that the curve tools got this kind of stuff sorted. You know what, I'm just going to drag, oh, wrong thing. Oh, don't forget that the undo doesn't apply to the curve tool. I'm heading out against all the barriers. You can tell that I've mostly been using Dreams in the Office and not in thing. Okay, easier way to do this. I was going to try do it all with one curve, but I think the easier way to do this is actually to do that. Keep it in line. Try not to get anal about this. Boop. Okay. The way I would do this is do that. Flip it. Okay, fuck it. Rotate it. Because flipping it didn't work. Now remember, if you smush these together close enough, you will not notice. Remember, we're going to add a bit of fuzz anyway to get the neon effect, so it's all good. It's all good. And you really see the amount of effort this is versus the very simple X. So don't do this unless it is an asset where someone will actually get up close to it. And you can just sort of hack on the X a little bit. But the trick here, the trick we are going for is we want, there we go. If you were actually doing an X in neon, this would be a tube. And then, well, actually, hold on, before we do that, let's do the whole color majiggy jobby. So first of all, first things first, sculpture detail. Lose a bit of detail off it just to get a bit of fuzz so we can get the fake neon effect in. If I was actually writing a shader in Blender or something like that, I'd implement this slightly differently, because I would actually try implement the whole standing wave nature of it and sort of get the wobble to be along the axis a bit. But with the various fleck tools we have, it's not going to be the easiest. So you see, this is a trick I have seen in Neon where they're basically, you meant to have two things sort of intersecting like that, and all they do is a sort of bend. And while it's really obvious from that angle, generally a neon sign has a sort of angle of viewing, if you will. Comes down like that. And then we just grab one of these that we made earlier. Sort of plop that on there. And plop that on there. And now I'm going to do this here, but what I'm going to actually do, because I just want to reuse the material basically, I'm just going to do that. Remember I said sometimes you hide the thing, and this looks really stupid in daylight, and if you actually look at real neon, it'll often have these weird end caps or these weird bits of plastic hiding. A proper like neon artist is much better at hiding these, but if you actually go look at neon art examples, you'll find this kind of stuff. And we're dealing with blue here, so let's just go in here, wrap this up really quickly because we're running out of time. Go through there, and I'll start off with nice black so we get the thing in there. Right, go for our target blue, sort of light. Go right, and now again you want to fade, and then you want to really drop the opacity. And oh, actually, before I go any further, I should just set this back to the sort of 32 range that it's at, so I get an idea of where, once I finish the modifications to the paint, how that comes through. Now again, you don't want to make it perfect, you don't want to, because the imperfection is actually where you'll get the gorgeousness from it. Go through here, sort of paint that up there, and sample that there. Right. Now remember, we got the end cap hiding a bit there, so we can get a little bit of goodness there, and then go in and probably pump that up just a bit, because the way I've done the things. Looseness we don't have to tweak, and then we want a bit of flow. Wait, yeah, flow. Bit of a throb. That really isn't flowing for us, is it? Let's grab the sculpture detail tool. Just knock back a little. And again, up close, that's not going to look the best, but it's what sort of distance are you designing the neon for? Oh wait, volume's going to apply to a whole bunch of crap, isn't it? I'm going to just hack this really quick. Here we go. And the triangle still has to be done, but I will leave that as they say, as an exercise for the viewer. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to save a version here, and I'm going to save this as public, and we are going to go, can not edit the name now? We cannot edit the name now, whatever. But we are going to save that as architecture. Yeah, architecture, I definitely do. Add tags. And 2 tags I want to add on here. I'm going to add on neon. And I want to add on, I'm pretty sure I have this one saved, which is, I don't have it saved, really. That's interesting. I'll just tag on remix. I was going to say, so what we're going to do is we're going to save that, and gonna exit out here, and I'm just, oh, fuck's sakes, Claire, gonna come in here, going to that pencil, different pencil, and we're literally just going to call this neon sign symbols, please finish. Right, we'll just put a cool comment. Oh, for fuck's sakes, why are we not getting oh god, this is, sorry, different versions of, this was done as a demo of Neon Ideas on stream. See if you can polish and fix the last obvious error. Right, so that is out there. It is in the thing. New preview pick. Oh yes, that's a good shout. That is actually a really good shout. Let's grab that and hide the photo UI. Boop. Okay. It's like that. Release online. Right. Boop. 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 Ah, fuck's sakes. I'm really not having the best morning with waking up. Anyway, was connecting to chat for like 20 minutes. Okay, good, awesome. So those are the principles of neon sign design, and as you say, I really enjoy neon art, and I really enjoy the sort of tweaking of that, and I'd love to see some people sort of carry along these principles and see if you can maybe improve on the technique that I'm using to sort of express that. And you look at the look at a reference of how the standing wave affects. Actually, let's just go over to thing. Right, yeah. See if you can see how the standing wave affects neon. As I say, I wanted to do something a little different. We haven't tried to do a dreams stream in the morning, the little 30-minute ones. Normally we are talking about computer science and a range of stuff in our little morning shows. We don't normally do the dreams thing in the morning because it's quite hard to squeeze it all down, and we've run a little bit over. But for those of you who are watching on YouTube, this is a morning show that we do 8:30 in the mornings. Come join us live. You can chat and talk and ask questions. Speaking of which, questions. Oh dear, people being kept up by babies and neon sign issues. Yes, as I said before, the signal generator has that phase thing. It's a known thing. I love the cyberpunk work that people have done. They've done some amazing stuff, and there's been some really good neon work on the Dreamiverse if you look out for it there. But most of the neon work I have seen is the simplistic version of neon, which is fine. It's all workable. It's all good. But the missing of the end caps always bugs me. The corners being brighter, which is just a classic computer graphics error, so I don't blame artists on that. It's a nuance that you have to sort of brush over. And then, yeah, the standing wave or the flickering neon. Like, if you're going to do flickering neon, and this is really hard to do in dreams, like you would actually have to do stop motion sculptures to properly get the flickering neon effect. But if you look at slow motion of flickering neon, the bulb does not flicker evenly. Flickering neon, because neon is a pulse. And yeah, all of these quirks I'm discussing are what give neon its charm. If you implement neon without all of these quirks, anyone who has seen neon, anyone who's seen a lot of film of neon will be like, that doesn't look right. It doesn't put me in the mood. And also remember, when you've got flickering neon, you've got a very high charge capacitor. And I actually probably, we'll probably do a whole talk on the actual physics of neon lights, which is what I was actually going to do more today, but I just ran out of time. But yeah, there's a high charge capacitor that is actually pulsing in the thing, and flickering neon is usually because the capacitor can't get enough of a charge or is faulty in some way, and that's also where the tink 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 sound comes from, because there is literally neon bouncing around in the tube. So yeah, I think that is all good. And I will see you guys when I see you. As I say, I thought I'd try something different for my birthday stream. That all told, see you all on Monday. Take care, everyone. Ta-ta.